Janelle Monáe with Saul Williams' Dance or Die. That's from her amazing record, The Archandroid. We played a track from her several months ago on this show, and it won't be the last time you'll hear from her this year in the Media Monarchy Kingdom. But welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 198th episode of Media Monarchy. It's December 10th, 2010. My name's James Evan Pilato, your host and webmaster of the site and show, MediaMonarchy.com, your source for alternative news, politics, conspiracies, and cover-ups. And that's just scratching the surface. We are, of course, coming live to you, as always, every Friday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific Time on the Portland Radio Authority, PRAradio.org. And, of course, huge thanks to all the great affiliates who help spread the word about Media Monarchy. ZeroPointRadio.com, blasting it worldwide as well right now in Casper, Wyoming on 92.3 FM and 1670 AM. The worldwide home of free speech, RevereRadio.net, Free Radio, Olympia, Berkeley Liberation Radio, One Sky Radio, Ground Zero Radio, Patriot Radio, KBOO.info, Radio23.org, all that and so much more. You can make contact, Facebook.com/Media Monarchy, and the rest, MySpace, Twitter, YouTube, Ustream, Blip, Podomatic, and we'll say hello to some of the new folks we may have picked up from MediaMonarchy.podomatic.com. Connected up with the fine folks at TragedyandHope.com. You can get t-shirts at cafepress.com/Media Monarchy. You can send news tips and make contact, MediaMonarchy@gmail.com. We're on Skype, Instant Messenger, iTunes, RadioForAll.net, Archive.org, all that, so much more. If you find this valuable, if you find independent, non-commercial, non-corporate alternative media valuable and edutaining, if you will, hit the donate button. Your support helps keep alternative media going, paying for those pesky things like domain names and Skype credit and DJ dues and new headphones or God knows what. So a huge thanks to our recent donors. Nate G. and Sam P. both have donated before. So we'll use that again as the call for folks who maybe haven't donated before. So it's not just a small group of folks doing the lion's share. And as long as we're on the topic, we want to note, we are finally down to just a few discs left of the exclusive DVD from TragedyandHope.com. Richard Grove and Paul Verge made 2020 hindsight censorship on the front line. More important now than it was earlier in the year when we started to release it to you. If you donate at least $10 to Media Monarchy, you get that exclusive DVD, as well as anything else I can cram into the envelope, such as issues of RockCreekFreePress.com, and a huge thanks to those guys. My man Jeff Long over there sends them cross-country. Post office always looks at him a little funny when he writes Washington, D.C. as the return address. But we're almost out of DVDs, and again, huge thanks to those folks. And once they're gone, they're gone. But coming up next, and I'll tell you more about it when I learn more about it, we're going to help distribute the new DVD video archive coming soon from CorbettReport.com. Will be the West Coast, Western Hemisphere distribution arm, if you will. So many things going on. More exciting news. Something huge. And I almost want to say that I've had more action in the Media Monarchy Kingdom this last week than I've had in a long time. And a huge thanks goes out to all of you guys who help spread this around. It's not easy to do this. I suppose the ultimate compliment for things is that, oh, it looks easy. But it is mentally and emotionally draining to do all of this. So the kind words and the support go a long damn way to keeping me motivated and activated before we get radio activated. So there's something huge I'd love to tell you, but let's wait till we've actually done it. But it will be the biggest coverage Media Monarchy has received, and it's going to be awesome. So the huge amount of emails that have been coming in, the massive amounts of contact that has been made, it's now reaching the point where there's no way I can respond to all of it. And again, a huge thanks. Don't get mad. Just keep sending me news tips, and we'll work it out. So, massive episode this week. As we already ran down, we're going to get into Dr. Assange love, or how I learned to stop worrying and love WikiLeaks. Next week, we're going to have Tracy Twyman in studio to discuss the alchemy of money. And I've got a link up at the top of MediaMonarchy.com so you can do a little homework ahead of time. That way, when you come to next week's episode, you'll have done your homework. We're going to take that following week off. That'll be Christmas Eve. I deserve Christmas Eve off. Come on. However, there'll be a little something under your podcast tree on Christmas. Don't you worry. And then we're going to come back on New Year's Eve with a massive 200th episode of Media Monarchy. We, again, are going to have, I believe, a special guest in studio. And as we take inspiration from all the other fantastic alternative media outlets that we're proud enough to be associated with in any way, that's how we're going to roll with number 200. That's all I'll say. So, I mentioned almost running out of 2020 hindsight DVDs. Coming soon, the Corbett DVDs. I mentioned the episodes, mentioned Christmas Eve off. Next week, Tracy Twyman. Next week, massive exposure coming soon for MediaMonarchy.com. You're going to love it. And I believe that gets us up to date, my friends. As I look over all of my notes. Let's glance at Google News and see what's breaking. The most important thing in the world right now, the top of Google News, jury reaches verdict in Elizabeth Smart case. Yes, my friends, that's it. Obama predicts tax bill passage and possible changes, and of course all the controversy around China and the Nobel Peace Prize, and all the other various loaves of bread and three-ring circuses. But we'll keep an eye on the breaking news just to see if and when things happen, and I'm sure we'll have to check back in as we try and flesh out some of our stories that are our main stories on this episode 198, just to try and get it all together. We're also in the chat room, I should mention, on zeropointradio.com. And again, huge thanks to them. Simulcasting it on the web as well, AM and FM. That puts them right at the top of the heap of helping syndicate MediaMonarchy.com. So again, huge thanks to those guys. Ah, yes. And now we're there. We have a main posting to cover the ever-evolving WikiLeaks PSYOP. And I'm glad folks got a kick out of my stumbling over my speech last week and saying Licky Weeks. If I can amuse and entertain, then ba-bam. Wait, amuse and entertain? No, that's not what I want to do. I want to amuse and educate. Let's get our game face on. WikiLeaks being used to justify an Internet Patriot Act. On this post, we take it from an article from activistpost.com, and I won't go into this one because it's the article we go into on the latest episode of NewWorldNextWeek.com, my weekly video series with James Corbett. So we won't go into that text again because I've already read it onto the record. It's in video form. But we have massive updates, massive related links, and again, doing our own sort of data dump, if you will. Getting things squared away that lays out a path for you. I'm no expert, really, on any of these topics. Just trying to pay attention. Like the guy that went on Press Your Luck in the 80s and had memorized the patterns of the board to avoid the whammies. That's a fascinating story that I'm digressing about, but it shows ultimately that when they paid him off, because they had to, because there's no rule against paying attention. Let's try and flesh out the WikiLeaks psyop with an article on oilprice.com written by Claude Salhani. WikiLeaks, state secrets or clever tactics? Is the U.S. government Machiavellian enough to orchestrate the recent brouhaha over the so-called WikiLeaks website? Is this a real embarrassment, or will it indeed be damaging, as some U.S. diplomats claim? I'm not one to support conspiracy theories, but when you stop to analyze the content of the information that was leaked, it seems that two things emerge. First, the content of the cables were not so earth-shattering as to damage national security or harm Washington's relations with other countries. Second, upon further analysis, it would appear that the information revealed instead sends a strong message to America's foes. Much of what has been released in those cables is hardly news in any real sense of the word. Take, for example, the report that the U.S. has been spying on its friends as well as on its foes, and that Hillary ordered diplomats to assemble info on their foreign counterparts. Let's get real. Friends have been spying on friends ever since man has been involved in conflict.